in America, those of you joining us from the US, and wherever you are joining us from. We thank you for finding time to join us. Ozioma Onozulite is my name. I'm Director of Institute of African Studies here at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the second in our lecture series here at the Institute of African Studies. And our speaker for today is Professor Tochukwu Omenma, and he'll be talking to us about the cycle of authoritarian regime and conflict in Chad. I'm going to introduce him and allow him to tell us what he has for us today. Professor Dr. Omenma J. Tochukwu, that is how he prefers to be addressed. He's staff of the Institute of African Studies here at Nsukka with a parallel appointment to political science. He's presently guest research fellow at the Department of Work, Technology and Participation at the Technische Universität in Berlin. His research areas are conflict or security studies and participatory democracy. His research on security studies focuses on local defense force and state response to violent extremism and the development of dynamics of violent extremism in the Lake Chad region. His works are aimed at the generation of security evidence and knowledge for the support of state actors in countering criminality, terrorism, and insurgency. His current research focuses on the best ways of community level, that is local and traditional institutions, their participation in the security decision-making process. His fieldwork research centers on Lake Chad areas, while his wider research activities cover the conflict belts of the Sahel region, Horn of Africa, and North Africa. He co-edited a very important book titled 10 Years of Boko Haram in Nigeria, which was published in 2023 by Macmillan. Tochukwu is a recipient of the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation Award for Experienced Researchers and the GES Postdoctoral Fellowship of the University of Johannesburg, South Africa. Has been awarded a number of research grants from major funding agencies such as UNESCO, JFID, and also the federal government of Nigeria, with which he was able to do his master's degree in Nigeria. He is the associate editor of Security Journal and consultant to the Kenga Journal of African Studies. He holds a PhD in political science from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, where he teaches. Please join me to welcome Professor Tochukwu Omenma to the podium. Thank you very much.
This is my research is a modest way of introducing my research. And it has to do with cycles of authoritarian regime in Chad. Why do I call it a modest way? It is an ongoing work. It is a framework I want to develop and study about Chad. And if you look at Chad, Chad has been existing there since 1960 when they got their independence. And there are a lot of factors involving that country. The first thing I have in my slides is what Chad is the Palestine of Africa. Therefore, when I was doing a little work in the Chad region, especially the Kanuri people, I was reading a book and I just came across this word. Chad is the Palestine of Africa. Then it ignited my thoughts, it stimulated my thoughts. Why? Why is Chad the Palestine of Africa? That Palestine has been fighting war since 1948. besides that are fighting war since 1948, there are other external factors that are fighting war with them. The Arab nation, Egypt, Lebanon, and rest of them. Then besides that, I discovered that Pakistan have conducted more than 36 peace agreements. And this peace agreement is different from other side agreements that were conducted. Then I started asking my question, does this apply to Chad? Now Chad has been fighting war since 1948. They have conducted different peace agreements, and there are other factors related to their conflict. Then I said, okay, I should study Chad and know how Chad works and their political system. Then while I was studying that, while I was researching that, I came into Boschhoff. He's a scholar in Stellenbosch in South Africa. And he said, neocolonialism and research collaboration in Central Africa. And his central argument is that Central African region is highly under-researched. That most of the people that conduct research in the Central African region are the Europeans and the Americans. And 80% of studies conducted in Central African regions were done by Europeans. Then I said, if 80% are done by Europeans, how many percentage are African? It is discovered that it is only 5% African that have studied Central Africa. You may consider that as a problem because Central Africa was colonized by the French. They call them French colony. They were colonized by the Portuguese too. Therefore, because of this language barrier, and besides, Central African Republic have been involved in a lot of conflict within that area. All the countries in that Central African Republic have been involved in conflict. This might have contributed why they are not involved in research, and this might have even contributed why Africans are not doing research about that area. These two factors stimulated my interest to do study in Chad. My work is going to be under three headings: the conflict environment in Chad, and the second one is engaging the literature in the Chad, and the third one is the peace agreement and projections in Chad. Chad has a complex historical contestation, and the complex historical contestation is based on two factors: the social relations of production and the formation of state in Chad. There are three factors or five factors that form the social relations of production in Chad, or what we call formation of state in Chad. The first factor is slavery. There was a huge slave economy in Chad, and because of the slavery activity in Chad, there was an issue of occupation of territory. There was the issue of slavery and the slave master and slavery. There was the issue of forced labor. And if you have the wherewithal to occupy a particular area or a particular community, then you control them. Therefore, because of that, that is a part of their community. Then the second one is that Chad area is the melting pot of sub-Saharan Africa. Therefore, the trans-Saharan trade, Chad is the melting pot. Therefore, a lot of people from ethnic group are moving from everywhere, passing through Chad for the trans-Saharan trade. Then the next one is the nomadic life. In the Chadian area, there are a lot of nomadic life. They carry their cattle from one area to another. And what is the interesting thing? While they carry their cattle from one area to another, the issue is occupation and control of that area. And when they control that area, they control both the land, the economic resources, and the people in that area. Then the third one or the fourth one, which all of us have made very, very much conversant with, is the Canon-Bonu Empire. The Canon-Bonu Empire is within that trans-Saharan area. Even though the Canon-Bonu Empire was in Mali, but there was a lot of influence in Chad. And because of that, Chad is composed of 200 ethnic groups. And these 200 ethnic groups have almost 110 languages. And the main dominant ethnic groups are the Sara ethnic group. The Sara ethnic group are controlling 30% of the population. And these 30% of the population are living in the south, and most of them are engaged in cotton production. And because they engage in the cotton production, they are the majority part of the Chad, and they are the Christians in the Chad, and they were never dominated. Then the second one, the Chua Arabs. The Chua Arabs controls the slave trade. They control the nomadic economy. Therefore, they were in charge of the nomadic economy in Chad. Then the other one is the two. The two is just 2.9%. These people are the warriors. The two community, they were conquered by the French in 1920. In just 1920, and between 1920 and 1960, they got their independence. Therefore, France, we are not quite, French government, we are not quite interested in Chad, because Chad is a warring community. Just imagine that the two communities were just captured in 1920. Then the next one is the Zakwa ethnic group. The Zakwa ethnic group constitutes just 1 to 2% of this ethnic group. And because of their warring activity, their warring power, they are so important in Chad political system. Then the next one is the Tama ethnic group. They are just 1%. These are the 5 or 6 dominant ethnic groups in Chad. And what is the distinguished aspect of this ethnic group about their political system? Their political system is basically egalitarian system. They are highly an independent system. They are highly acephalous system of government. Even though they are highly stratified, they believe in clanship authority. Because they are mainly a warrior community, they pay back any retaliation in terms of this for that. If a particular community, ethnic group, has to attack another ethnic group, what do they pay back? They don't think about discussion about peace. They don't think about negotiation. Their own negotiation is to pay back, to attack the community. Therefore, they are highly warring community. And because of that, they are highly autonomous communities. Each of these ethnic groups are highly autonomous. Then after the independence, when the French colonized them and the process of independence, they had election in 1960. And the first independence election in 1960 saw the Sara ethnic group. And this Sara ethnic group are the dominant ethnic group in terms of population. They are not the dominant in terms of military power. They are not the dominant in terms of economic power. They are not the dominant in terms of influence in Chad, but they have the population. And another thing that went for them is that they embraced colonialism. They embraced Christianity before the other ethnic groups. Because they embraced Christianity before ethnic groups, they were able to emerge as the president of Chad. Therefore, the first president is Francis Tambola Bay, who was the first president of Chad. And when he became the president of Chad, instead of adopting policy to nationalize, to integrate other ethnic groups into as a Chad, as a kind of a state formation, he devised some authoritarian tendencies. The first thing he did is that he centralized authority in Chad. And knowing that Chad is decentralized communities, the autonomous groups are highly decentralized. But he decided to centralize the administration within the presidency. Then the second thing is that he banned the political party. It was a multi-party system that brought him in. But he decided to ban all the political parties and allowed his own ethnic political party called PPT, which was dominated by the Sara ethnic community. Then the third thing he did is that in 1964, he adopted the indigenization policy, the Africanization policy. And knowing that the Sara ethnic group had the head start before other ethnic groups in terms of Christianity, in terms of education, in terms of exposure. Therefore, when he did the indigenization policy, it was only the Sara ethnic group that took over all the civil service, all the military services and rest of them. This thing it didn't go down well with the other ethnic groups. Then after that, he increased the taxation on cattle. And you know that taxation, cattle rearing is not part of their culture. Cattle rearing is part of the Tugwa community, the Tugwa Arabs and other Arab communities. Because of this, it ignited a lot of guerrilla fighting within the Chad. And it led to the first coup. And the first coup was equally persecuted by a Sara ethnic group. Therefore, the other ethnic group saw it as a kind of a slap on their face. And they were previously the slave masters. And if they were previously the slave masters, introduced a kind of animosity amongst them. And each ethnic group decided to organize a guerrilla warfare from their ethnic perspective. Yeah, this diagram shows us how the movement of power from one ethnic group to another ethnic group, based on contestation, based on guerrilla warfare, based on fighting from different ethnic groups. From 1960 to 1975, was the Sara ethnic group. They were dominant because of Rambula who was the president. And when he became the president, he described other ethnic groups as powerless. While the Sara ethnic group, he described them as the dominant ethnic group, while the other ethnic groups are the powerless. Therefore, between 1975 and 1980, Chad had their first war, and all the ethnic groups had their ethnic guerrilla warfare, and they are fighting to control the Chad in Germany, that's the capital of Chad. They are fighting to control the seat of power. Therefore, between 1975 to 1980, it was a total collapse of state. All the ethnic groups are fighting to control power in Chad. Therefore, in 1980, Hussein Habri, who was the leader of the Tukwa community in charge of the guerrilla warfare, he triumphed over other ethnic groups and their contestation, and he ascended to power in 1980. He stayed from 1980 to 1990, and he was described as the Pinochet of Africa. Pinochet was the Chilean president who was known for human rights violations. Therefore, between 1980 to 1990, it was full of human rights violations, and he was against the Shua Arabs. The Shua Arabs has a link to Libya, and he didn't have any relationship with it. He hated Libya, hated Mama Gaddafi. Therefore, he was persecuting them, and he only adopted the junior partner, the powerless, the junior partner, and rest of them. He described different ethnic groups to junior partner. And how do they describe ethnic group as a junior partner? It depends on their close access to power. If you don't have close access to power, they describe you as a junior partner. But if you have a close access to power, they describe you as a senior partner. Then after Hussein Habri, then the next ethnic group that took power is the Zagwa ethnic group, and it was led by the Idris Deby. Idris Deby was the president, and he overthrew Hussein Habri in his power, and he became the president. And he followed the same pattern of describing others as a senior partner, a junior partner, powerless, and the rest of them. And this becomes a dominant factor in ethnic in Chad. That is, exclusion and inclusion policy become a dominant factor. The another factor that contributes to the conflict in Chad is the proxy war in Chad. Chad is a dominant place of proxy war in Africa. The proxy war is where other countries find it convenient to fight an indirect war in a particular country. France remains a dominant factor because all the presidents of Chad, all the head of state in Chad are supported by France. Then the second one is Sudan. Because Sudan has ethnic relationship between the Tutwas and other Libyan ethnic groups. They always come over, they always support other rebel group and guerrilla warfare in fighting Chad. The same thing with Libya. Libya occupied Chad in 1998 and 1997 till 1990, and they were fighting war with Chad. The same thing with the US and the world power. When Chad discovered oil in 1990, the United States of America have interest in Africa. In Chad, therefore they station their war power in Chad. Therefore, Chad is always what we call where they fight the proxy war in Africa. Then we look at this diagram. Diagram is showing you the Tukwa community where they have their kids and kids in Chad and the kids and kids in Libya. And what it contributes is that they move from Nigeria, they move from Libya to fight war in Chad because of their kids and kids are there. Therefore, they consider it as a part of their own responsibility to help them to fight war over that place. Then the next one is the Nsukka ethnic group who are controlled by the Idris Deby community. Therefore, they use the basis of Sudan to fight their guerrilla war down to Chad. The next one is the Tama ethnic group. The Tama ethnic group has a relationship with the Sudan, and from where they still fight their own ethnic war. Then the next one we have is the contagious war. In Chad, the countries that surrendered Chad have been into war, like Libya, Sudan, Central African Republic, Niger, and Nigeria. Therefore, there is what we call a spillover war. Therefore, Chad have experiences of spillover war, like in 2004, when you have the Darfur crisis. Many of the Darfur origin migrated to Chad, and when they migrated to Chad, instead of constituting only humanitarian crisis, they equally constituted security crisis because their youth population were mobilized by the Chadian, by the guerrilla people in the Chad and start fighting the Chadian government. Therefore, the contentious war equally helped resulted in what we call a failed trapped war. Failed trapped war is an interconnection of conflict that starts off as a conflict, a disaster, moves to post-conflict or post-disaster, and falls back into another conflict. Therefore, Chad is a country that has been in conflict from 1964 to date because of all these three factors we have identified. Then, because I said this is a framework I'm trying to develop to study about Chad and why Chad has been in conflict since 1964 to date, and why there is an authoritarian regime in Chad, I decided to engage in different theoretical literature. The first literature I engage is the authoritarian literature, then the second one is the conflict literature, and the third one is the end sovereignty peace approach. I decided to contextualize authoritarian regime. And before I contextualize, I selected these three scholars. I looked at Max Weber's theory of authority, from the traditional to the charismatic and the rational action authority. And even Diamond discussion about the decline of democracy across the whole world. I've zeroed my discussion or my analysis to these three scholars. The first one is Link. Link is talking about the military enjoys the privileged position in most authoritarian regimes. That's the distinctive factor. His argument is that most of the authoritarian regimes are conducted in military government. But that is not the case, because there are other non-military governments that conduct authoritarian regimes. Therefore, he talked about limited democracy. He said that in the authoritarian regime, where the military is in charge, there is a limited open democracy. He talked about political mobilization. That in the military regime, there is no political mobilization. That is, all the policies and programs of the government does not promote political mobilization or democratization. He talked about the small group of leaders. Yeah, in the military regime, it's always a small group of a clique of people that lose their administration. Then the next one is absence of elaborate ideology. That is quite applicable in all the authoritarian regimes because there is always inclusion and exclusion policy. Then the next one is modernization and bureaucratic authoritarianism. This is a very important aspect that has to do with Chad. Why is it important? Because he moved beyond the least aspect of authoritarian regime. He argues that authoritarian regime is not only applicable to military regime. It is equally applicable to civilian regime. It is equally applicable to multi-party system. It is equally applicable to single-party system. And he argues that even in the multi-party system or the military system, that it is the technocrats that helps to institutionalize authoritarianism. And even though it is the authoritarian regime, that they make use of the technocrats in the process. Therefore, he discussed about that the government only sponsored political parties. Therefore, in his discussion, he said that there is only one political party, whether it is the military or multi-party system. And because you have a lot of extremist groups, in most authoritarian regimes, there is always conflict. There are always guerrilla warfare. There are always rebels who want to usurp the power of the president. Then from there, we looked at end sovereign peace approach. From this point, I'm now trying to examine what are the issues in Chad. Do we know the issues? What is the problem in Chad? Is it because of the natural resources? Is it because of the authoritarian regime? Is it because of what? And I have to look at the end sovereign peace approach. End sovereign peace approach have two arguments. The first argument is on sovereignty. When it defines sovereignty, sovereignty is the absolute power of the state to control the territory. That's the first argument. The second one argument about sovereignty is that a sovereign government has the power and the resources and everything to participate in international organizations like United Nations, ECOWAS, EU, and the rest of them. But the theory of this argument is saying that the state should not be an absolute state. That an absolute state leads to what we call the absolute conflict. Because there are some people who have their sovereignty within them, and they want to have their sovereignty, and it will lead to sovereign-based conflict. Therefore, the sovereignty theory end argument is telling us that there should be what we call, in any sovereign government, there should be what we call bundles of rights. And there are some people who own these bundles of rights. And the bundles of rights is expression of human rights and minority rights. Development of a democratic institution, institutionalization of rule of law and protection of the regime. But that is not what the sovereignty argument is making. What they are arguing is that there are some people who should earn that sovereignty. That sovereignty is not given. You should earn it. And that is when you say there is what we call bundle of right perspective. And what is the bundle of right? The argument is that in any sovereign authority, there must be negotiation. And that negotiation should look and recognize different rights of different ethnic groups. And when you look at Chad, I've said it at the initial that their political formation, that is the political formation in the process, is mainly egalitarian. They are highly independent. They are highly autonomous government, what we call the acephalous system of government. And because of their highly acephalous system of government, they have caused centralization of power. And the centralization of the power has been the problem in Chad since 1960 of the date. And when you look at the diagram we shared earlier, you find out that the two community ethnic groups, they are just 2.8% population in Chad. Then the Samoa ethnic group is just 1.2% population in Chad. And they are controlling the Sahara ethnic group that has 30.5%. And it shows there's no democracy. And they control the military, they control the economy, they control all the space of development in Chad. Therefore, when we're discussing about end sovereignty, what are the rights of other ethnic groups? What are the rights in terms of security sector reform? What are the rights of self-autonomy? Therefore, the framework I'm looking at is how we use the end sovereignty theory to analyze the various peace processes in Chad. Look at their process, look at the content, look at the implementation of the peace process. Whether the peace process have discussed about this bundle of rights, whether the peace process has discussed about the social contract that is that causes the problem in Chad. Then we look at the peace approach agreement. They are just raising some questions because what I'm just doing here, because it's a framework, I'm just going to raise some questions which we need to look at it and argue over it. First, what are the central issues in this peace? Is it issue of natural resources, or issue of authoritarian regime, or issue of exclusionary politics that started in 1962 and started in 1962 by Sarah ethnic group? What are the constitutional arrangements? How do they guarantee bundles of rights of subnational governments? What are the issue of security sector reforms? Are they part of the peace process? Then the third one is that do the peace agreements guarantee the renewal of a social contract? Therefore, they had almost 23 peace agreements. And this peace agreement, just one national sovereign peace conference. And that sovereign national peace conference was held in 1992 that led to the election in 1996. And that sovereign national conference has been abrogated in 2004 when the two-term limit was removed from the constitution by the Idris Deby. Then the next one is the referendum. Have they conducted the referendum to understand themselves? But they have not done that. Then I started to look at the life cycle of peace in Chad. And this has to explain the processes of peace, the number of negotiations they have conducted. And remember that this peace process started in 1990 by Idris Deby, who organized a multi-party system. And there are various rebel groups around. And he wanted them to be part of his government. Therefore, the first thing I have asked the question is, have all the peace agreements addressed the authoritarian structure? It has not addressed authoritarian culture. What the peace process did is that they always have a single party peace agreement. Instead of holding a multi-party peace agreement, where everybody discusses and arrive at a social contract, you just have a single party agreement. And when you have a single party agreement, what does it do? It talks about amnesty. It talks about the rebel group transforming themselves to a political party so that it be part of a political party. In Chad, we have almost 120 political parties in Chad. Because and those numbers of political parties are still numbers of a rebel group in Chad. Then the next thing they always agree in peace is amnesty. Idris Deby is already ready and willing to give amnesty to all the guerrilla warfare. Then the next one is the release of prisoners of war. And these are not the core issue of the conflict. The core issue of the conflict is authoritarian regime and external factor and exclusion of other ethnic groups. Then we look at the other variable, that's the bundle of rights. The bundles of rights and devolution of power. These are the main issue in Chad. And the peace agreement, 23 peace agreements, only one of those peace agreements tabled the issue of devolution of power in Chad. And when it was equally tabled in Chad, it was not discussed of, it was not agreed on. Idris Deby just waved it aside. Then the next one is the social contract. As the peace agreement led to the non-domination, as it led to non-discrimination, as it led to equality. Therefore, the social contract we are looking at has not been guaranteed by the peace agreement. We always argue that the peace agreement is more of a diversionary process, which helps Idris Deby to stay in power for 30 years. For stay in power for 30 years in Chad. Then, in conclusion, the project I'm trying to argue is that because some scholars have already started arguing that the conflict in Chad is related to the natural resources. Therefore, they are trying to accept for Coriolan's argument in 2000 when he argues that most of the conflict in Africa has to do with the natural resources. Because the Chad had discovered oil in 1990. Therefore, some scholars are trying to argue it is a natural resources conflict. But my argument is that it is an authoritarian conflict. It is an authoritarian issue. And because it is an authoritarian circle of argument, then the conflict continues. Then they have to address the issue of authoritarianism. But because the work is still in progress, I have to look at the details of the ethnic groups, the details of the government, different types of government in Chad, and isolate the variables of authoritarian regime as argued by Lins, Oduno, and Bliss about authoritarian regime and from my studies. Thank you. I always try to end my presentation with a little bit of the African proverb. Having a good discussion is like having riches. No discussion can throw light if it wanders from the real point. If you want to know the end, look at the beginning. To love the king is not bad, but a king who loves you is better. He who forgives ends the quarrel. Thank you very much.
Proverbs. And thanks for keeping to time. Let me choose one. If you want to know the end, look at the beginning. And I think I tried to look at the beginning of this conflict in Chad. And I'm sure that you will have one or two questions or comments to make about the lecture. So we are entering the Q&A session. Those of you joining us online, you can indicate, you can raise your hand if you have any question to ask. You can speak to us directly or you can send text message and we will read. Okay, the person on the computer says she'd rather send a text message, then we read out your question or your comment. Thank you for joining us there. Mama is going to moderate the session, so if you want to say something, just raise up your hand. He will bring the microphone to you. Thank you very much.
After listening to the presentation, I'm still lost as to how to connect authoritarian regime and the ethnic politics itself, and what will be the greater direction of interest in analyzing the conflict itself.
They'd like to understand the solution the author is preferring to these authoritarian issues, because I find it very common across many African countries, especially south of Sahara. You go down a little to the left, you have Chad. To the right, you have Cameroon. Of course, we know that Obiye has been there forever. In fact, even as a weakling, he is still ruling the country from abroad. Nigeria is not a stranger to conflicts. And of course, across the vast of West African countries, even down to South Africa, many authorities have written that this conflict is still there, and it's even multiplying. And it's worrisome, especially to generations, the future generations of Africa. I heard you didn't say much about external influence, but perhaps it will give us more insight about the influence of this external influence. For instance, what France is doing around the region. Of course, we mentioned China and the USA. Are they contributing to this in a way that there won't be any end, so long as natural resources are coming out of Africa? Issues of different tribes, languages, percentages of these ethnic groupings. How did the Americans manage their own? Is it a matter of obeying the rule of law? Who is going to make that work so that we can have peace in Africa? And in respect to your research area, which is Chad, how do you think peace will finally come to that region? Thank you.
Well, I'm really happy to listen to topics like this, and sometimes I ask myself questions, and oftentimes I hear people ask, who does this thing? And when you hear about things like this, you will see that there is need to ask that question. However, when you are going to ask that question, I also want to find out, are we actually prepared for the right thing to be done? Because when you look at Chad today, and you compare all you say, in as much as it's gone so far to fight the battles and then cause all the problems based on a particular target, which is a form of leadership, every part of Africa is suffering the same thing. And most times we keep blaming the people who we don't really have evidence to feel or prove that they are the ones causing our problems. We are also human beings. We also have the power, we have the ability. Because some of our brothers who are out there are doing very, very well. I can give you a practical example. Somebody told me that when he is in Germany, if Nigerians who are there working very, very hard for Germany to be good, come to Nigeria and do a little bit, just quarter of what they are doing in Nigeria will be great. But are we ready? Why do we say US is causing this problem? Why do we say France is causing this problem? The reason is that they've discovered that there are people who are ready to sell their country, just like what is happening in Chad, what is happening in Nigeria. They get few people with vested interests, convince them, give them everything they need. They open accounts for them in various countries, in different currencies.
and then make them come sell us, sell even their children, and make life very, very unbearable for Africa. However, when we are discussing things like this, I think time will come when everybody will come to their right senses and ask, what do we do? So after a long series of discussions and findings, I always want to be happy to hear a portion, what are we going to do? Because when you choke everybody, it will feel a space that maybe we will not even have a space to stay anymore. It's getting out of hand, gradually it's moving. Today we have banditry, tomorrow we have another different league. These things are cards that are used in classifying those facts that are buried on the ground so that we will not understand what is going on. Is it true that the Western influence is causing this problem? Is it true that we have allowed this thing to happen? Is it true that we continue to allow it, or there is a hope, or there is a solution someday?
Having looked at and listened to you, you have identified authoritarian system of government as the main problem in China. But at the end of this study, what do you hope would probably replace authoritarian system in China? Because even the democracy we are practicing in Nigeria is even more of the authoritarian system we have discussed so far. And apart from that, the external influence we are talking about, is it not as a result of our mindset in Africa in general? Because if our mindset does not change, I don't think anything will change what we pretend to have as system of government. The slavery will remain the point of disturbance. Thank you.
Do you think the authoritarian regime is influenced by these natural resources and external interests? Like, you made mention of the other researchers saying something about mineral resources being because of the conflict, and you are arguing that the authoritarian regime is the cause. Don't you think that they are going hand in hand? And again, there is something you actually said that I missed. You said the authoritarian regime is characterized by three social factors of the economy. Please, I would like to get those three. I think I got the last one, the rule of law. There are other two that you mentioned that I am interested in. Thank you very much.
Professor Omenma, that's the relationship between authoritarianism and the ethnic conflict. I hope I'm correct, Professor Omenma.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm equally surprised when he asked that question, the relationship between authoritarianism and the ethnic conflict. Ethnic issue is not limited to Africa. In Europe, you have ethnic differences, and there are ethnic contestations in Europe. And what is different in Africa? What is different in Africa, especially in Chad, is that democracy, election, rule of law, that's supposed to be the grand rule of election, of the development, was not applied. In Chad, the minor ethnic group, the Zagawa ethnic group, that is just 1% of the population, is the dominant political party, is the dominant force in Chad for more than 30 years. Is it not based on authoritarianism? There are ethnic differences in Chad. But what subsists is ethnic superiority. And because of their control of force, they dominated the military. Therefore, that is the strong relationship between ethnicity and authoritarianism. But when you go out of Chad, where you have great democratic system, you find out that there's no much relationship between ethnicity and authoritarianism, because democracy is already involved. Democracy is based on the majority of the people, not on the minority of the population. That is the relationship between authoritarian system in Chad and the ethnic relationship. Then the next question is, yes, he asked about solution, especially making reference to Cameroon. You see, when you look at the discussion I have raised, what are the issues I said there's what we call sovereignty-based conflict. And the sovereignty-based conflict is when those social contracts are being manipulated. And that is what is going on in Cameroon. And that is even what is going on in Nigeria. Therefore, there is need for you to address that sovereignty concept. Regimes in Africa believe that sovereignty is the president. That is their definition of sovereignty. Albeit defines sovereignty as albeit around him. The African president defines sovereignty as their leader. But that is not sovereignty. Therefore, sovereignty should try to address those concerns of ethnic groups, their concerns, and the issue of good governance. That's just the solution. And immediately they apply that solution, the issue of conflict and ethnicity will reduce.
Sorry, what did that did in Rwanda?
Rwanda. Did in Rwanda. Yes, it's still an authoritarian regime. But remember what Galatians is telling us. Telling us about sabotaging the accountability. It is an authoritarian regime, but it's not sabotaging the accountability aspect of the regime. That is the practical aspect of the regime. And don't forget that in Kigali, he is suppressing the opposition movement. They have forgotten the name of this lady and their family. He has been suppressing them for a long time. Therefore, even though he's an authoritarian regime, he suppressed them. And I made argument about monolithic ideology. And that is what is happening in Rwanda. He's having a monolithic ideology, suppressing all the other parts of ideology. Then Joseph, I think you made a comment. Joseph, your own was more of a comment, and I will thank you for that. Then he came talked about what we do to replace what? Replace authoritarianism. It's so simple. Democracy. No, it is not. It is not. Let me give you a practical example. Do you practice democracy in your house? That's what you do. When you start practical aspect of democracy, that's what replaces authoritarianism. Let me tell you, don't practice democracy in your house. You give directives to your children left and right. And without recognizing their right. But let us leave it at that. But what I'm saying is, what replaces authoritarianism is a democratic system. And democratic system is not 100% democracy. Even in USA, you don't have 100% democracy. And it is when you have dissidents, you have other opposition. That's what makes it a democratic system. Next person. First time. Can you help me? We talked about the called what? Yeah, the first one I talked about non-domination of group. Then the third one is the equality. I talked about equality.
I want to appreciate Professor Omenma for the much I heard him speak on, because what I think we're doing is our own approach or our own angle to scholarship and our own approach or contribution to knowledge. He has done quite what looks very, very persuasive and convincing. But I am inclined to looking at the title of the paper he presented to us, Cycles of Authoritarian Regimes. That, I think, relates to the third world or Africa, majorly. I would rather think that the problems we have are more like cycles of puppet regimes, rather than just authoritarian regimes, because all the regimes we find around us that are subsisting or that subsist, like Dr. Opara alluded to, the Cameroon, whether it's even the Chad, they have the backing of some other authorities beyond our own territories or spheres of influence. And it is just their puppets' ability or preparedness to submit to the dictates of the authorities beyond our own territories that sustains them, more than just their authoritarian whatever, brand or attributes or tenets. The moment a regime in Africa derails from the authority or from the influence of their Western organs, like most of the French-speaking countries around us, that regime will be haunted and will be brought down. Paul Biya has succeeded in staying for as long as he's there, not because he's popular, not because of so much of his authoritarian dispositions, but because of the support he has enjoyed from France. And because France believes that Paul Biya is doing and will continue to do their bidding. The moment he goes against them, his government will come to an end. So I'm inclined to looking at cycles of puppet regimes. I'm just saying, does that make any sense, or would that make any meaning?
Thank you. I have you right. Say in the beginning that some ethnic groups relied on their narrative heritage to affect change. If I'm right, can you please explain this aspect more, pointing especially to any known narrative heritage used for this purpose? Thank you for letting me learn. The Rwanda experience, you have the two and the Tutsi, the minority dominating the majority. The Nigerian experience, you have the Fulani at the earlier stage, very minor group of migrants dominating and even taking over the entire country. You have the Americo-Liberians, like in that Liberian experience, where the Liberians of American origin are even in the ruling party, the ruling power up until the 1990s. We also have the Zimbabwe experience, the land ownership by minority. Does that imply that there is an external possibility that there is an external factor? Because ordinarily a minority group can just be stronger than the majority group. Don't you feel there is a factor somewhere? And the story is one and the same across Africa. There is a minority dominance and usurpation. So can you help us out to see this? There is a link that we are not seeing that makes happen in Africa and sustains it. So for creation and Nana. I think the question Dr. Ikwe and Nana asked related. They are looking at the external factors of authoritarianism. These are just part of the variables to define or explain authoritarian culture. There are various variables that contribute to authoritarianism. The external factor is one of them, and I mentioned it. That Chad is already quite a prosy word there. And it's a factor. And because it is a factor, you cannot use it as the main ingredient of the discussion. And I said that this is a framework I'm building on to explain the kind of governance in Chad. That the main dominant factor is the authoritarian culture. And the authoritarian culture is not defined by the majority, it's not defined by the external factor. It is defined by the control of the force, the control of the military. And that's what defines it. Because I can't see the reason why the Zigua ethnic group are in the dominant factor for 30 years. They're just 1.5%. And we have others that are 30% in population. Then the question Kelechi asks about the heritage culture as the driving force. That's the culture. That is the culture, the tradition of the people as the driving force of a rebellion in Chad. Chad is made up of 200 ethnic groups. And in Chad, you have almost 40 rebel leaders in Chad. And all of them are operating from their ethnic base, ethnic strength. That's where they are operating from. And they are operating from different countries, Sudan, Libya, and in Nigeria. That is where they are operating. That is why we talk about the heritage. That is the cultural background is their driving force. It's both the tools and the driver of conflict in a child. Thank you.
Thank you for finding time to come speak to us by giving him a round of applause. Thank you. I think we'll right on time, and I'd like to inform you that our next event will be 2 weeks, and Rebecca Wolf of the Christopher Newport University in the United States will be speaking to us about art in Nigeria during the Nigerian Civil War. We're looking at unity and empathy. Nigerian art during the Nigerian art during the Nigerian Civil War. I can assure you that she's coming with a very fresh perspective to the history of modern Nigerian art of the post-independence era. And so I'm sure you would like to join us. So at this point, I would like to sincerely thank you for finding time to come to this event, and to thank Professor Omenma again for his stimulating lecture. Thank you very much. God bless you.